Okay, it says we're live, but I'm not seeing it on YouTube. Oh, because we're waiting for West Hartford Community. Well, we're live, so it's being taped.
I'm sorry, are we being recorded?
We're waiting for the TV station to push a button. There we go. Okay, we're good.
Okay, great.
If everyone could mute and just unmute when you speak, please. Thank you.
There we go. The meeting will come to order. Welcome to the January 24th, 2022 meeting of the West Hartford Library Board. My name is Jill Spear and I'm chair of the West Hartford Library Board. This meeting is being conducted in a virtual format in accordance with the Freedom of Information Act as amended by Public Act number 21-2, which authorizes municipalities to conduct public meetings virtually. Members of the public can view the meeting live on West Hartford Community Television at www.whctv.org and www.youtube/WHCTV5. The meeting is also being recorded for on-demand viewing and will be available on the town's website for at least 45 days. Since we are conducting this meeting in a virtual format, there are some special rules and procedures that we need to cover before we begin. First, I'll ask that all participants mute your devices when you're not speaking. If you wish to be recognized, please raise your hand and I'll call on you in the order I see the hands raised. If you are participating by audio only, or I do not call on you and the debate is ending, then unmute your phone and let me know so I can recognize you. Second, all speakers must make a good faith effort to state the person's name and title at the outset of each occasion that such person participates in the meeting. Third, all votes must be taken by roll call unless the vote is unanimous. Fourth, a reminder that if any participant has problems with connectivity, you should immediately call Janet Valensis, whose phone number you were provided with earlier. Janet will let me know and we will recess the meeting while the problem is resolved. If it cannot be resolved quickly, we will ask you to call into the meeting using a phone and participate via audio only. I'll proceed to call the roll, the agenda items. I will now call the roll and note the members, staff members who are present. Kim Cohen.
Kim Cohen, Library Board Member, present.
Gail Crockett.
Gail Crockett here.
Eileen Daly.
Eileen Daly, Library Board Member, present.
Natalia Menjivar.
Natalia Menjivar, Library Board Member, present.
And Jill Spear, Library Board Chair, present. Note also present are former Acting Director Carol Waxman. Jeez, there we go. Just lost my document for a second. There we go. Okay. Our next agenda item is I'll talk about the library support. I want to make a special note of all the people who helped during our very long search for our new library board member and recognize them. In addition to the West Hartford Town Human Resource Department and the town manager, we also had a search committee comprised of the entire library board, plus former members, library board members, Linda Dunnigan, Maureen McClay, and Patty Farah, as well as librarians Judy Eisenberg and Sally Turnoff, who worked tirelessly really for over 2 years, really, from the time Martha retired in last September. So it's been a long time. And lastly, I'd like to thank the library staff. First, former acting chair, library board director, Carol Waxman, for stepping in what was, what had hoped to be an interim position, but who carried the responsibilities flawlessly and with a great deal of panache over the last what is it, Carol? 18 months, September, over 2 years. Over 2 years, it's been a long time. And Janet Valensis, who took on additional responsibilities, as well as the library leadership team and really the whole library staff. In addition to the long search process that we have, clearly it was going on during a pandemic, and it wasn't as though the staff didn't have a few extra things that they had to do during this time. So I'd really like to thank them and kudos to them for everything you guys have done. So thank you. Our third item under the President's report is the reappointment of Gail Crockett to her second term on the library board. And I'd like to thank Gail. Thank you, Gail, for accepting the responsibility of taking on another term. And that concludes the President's remarks. Our next agenda item is old business. The first item of old business is an update on the fiscal year 23 budget, and I would like to recognize both former acting chair Carol Waxman, or Director Carol Waxman, and Laura Armstrong to make some remarks and updates about the fiscal year 23. I know you're trying to coordinate and get on board, so I'm just going to recognize both of you and let you guys handle this.
Okay, thank you, Carol Waxman, former interim library director. The Department of Library Services budget for fiscal year 23 was submitted on January 3rd, 2022. A budget review process will take place for all town departments the week of January 31st. We have requested a budget that is similar to FY22, with increases only in staff lines for cost of living and merit increases, and the activation of the Program and Publicity Librarian 2 position that was formerly held by Joe Cadu and defunded for fiscal year 22. We believe that the budget is compliant with what was requested by the town manager. And that concludes the report on the library budget.
Thank you, Carol. I'd like to open it for questions, comments. I have one comment, Carol. Just a reminder to the public and anyone who's listening in the public or in the recording, the meetings on the 21st for the Finance Committee, those are, it's not the open public meeting that's with the town council. It's not an open public meeting. However, the Finance Committee meetings are posted and you can watch them if I recall correctly. Is that the case, Carol?
I believe that is true. I don't have any dates given to me yet for the public. Even when I said the week of January 31st for the review process, that is not confirmed. I believe because of the change also of the town manager position, that is weighing into this a bit too. As soon as I have any definitive dates, any definitive information, I'll let you know.
Okay, that would be great. And Carol and you and Laura can work that out. Let us know when it is, and then also we can also look on the town. I looked last week, Carol, on the town website, and they weren't posted yet, any meetings that far out. So
Correct, Jill.
okay, thank you. That's the only question I have. Again, any follow-up from any of the board members? Thank you. All right, our next agenda item is an update on the new Community Culture Center and Library branch, and the chair recognized Laura Armstrong and Carol Waxman to coordinate some comments on the status of that effort.
Sure, Laura, if it's okay with you, I'll give my report. Thank you. So here is where we are right now with the new community center. A letter written by Helen Rubino Turco, head of Leisure and Social Services, and me, is being sent to the following stakeholder groups to seek a representative from each group to serve on an advisory committee for the new community center. The groups are the West Hartford Public Library Board, the Park and Recreation Advisory Board, Pedestrian and Bicycle Safety Commission, the Senior Citizens Advisory Board, Clean Energy Commission, Elmwood Business Association, the Mayor's Youth Council, 2 residents at large, an advisory commission for persons with disabilities, the Commission on the Arts, the West Hartford Chamber of Commerce, the Human Rights Commission, a board member from the Bridge Family Center, the West Hartford Bloomfield Health District, and the West Hartford Public Schools. A press release will be sent to West Hartford residents seeking their interest in applying for a resident at large membership in the committee. The new Community Center Advisory Committee, composed of a representative from all of the groups that I mentioned and the 2 residents at large, would meet monthly or on an as-needed basis with the chosen architectural firm and appropriate town staff through the feasibility and design stages of the project. The committee would assist in facilitating community outreach and participation. An advisory committee for the new community center would allow town staff, leadership, stakeholders, and residents to work together to ensure that design and plan functions of the new facility aligns with the strategic vision of the town and leads to solutions that address the specific needs of the community. The creation of a thoughtful and supportive committee to assist the architecture firm would be valuable in determining what town residents have requested and how these requests can be fulfilled. And that concludes the report on the new community center.
Thank you, Carol. Questions and comments? Chair recognizes Natalia Menjivar.
Natalia Menjivar, Library Board Member. Carol, I was just hoping you could remind us of the time frame, the expected rollout for somebody serving on such a committee of that length of their duration and the commitment.
I believe at least a year or two. The entire process is expected to take about 3 years from now until the facility is built. So I assume that the committee will stay in place at least until the architecture firm is chosen, then work with the architecture firm as it does its work. I'm thinking it could be as much as a 3-year commitment on a monthly basis. It's a very important commitment because you are representing your board or commission or your town. So you are going to be out there in the community listening to what people say, what they want, what they think their ideas are. We don't want anybody coming back afterwards saying, well, I had this idea and nobody listened to me. We want ideas. So it's a large commitment, but a very important and worthwhile commitment.
I'd like to remind, one of the things Carol and I talked about, because Carol's already, serving, she and Helen have been working on this for a while, is that, we're a small board, and I know it's been extremely busy for us, extraordinarily the last 2 years. One thing I talked about is having 2 members from the library board work as a member and a backup, so that we, just for absences or just to keep each other on board, come back to report to the board. And it's not like the director won't be reporting to us, but clearly there'll be some responsibility reporting to that. So if you'd like to reach out to me and talk about that, you could submit a resume through Carol to Carol. And we also have talked about, we have some interest from former board members to participate as a representative for the board, so they have the background. And hopefully that will give us a little breathing room, because I know it's been a busy couple of years and there's been a lot on your plate, and this is not, there's going to be a lot on the plate still for this year for the board. So I'd encourage you to think about it, and hopefully with the idea that there's a whether you call it a co-relationship or a backup, that someone that you could work with quickly, together very closely to attend meetings, keep each other informed. I think that would make the responsibility more doable, given the responsibilities of the board at the moment. Clearly, this is really, important for us. And this year, we also have on our plate for the library the long-range plan. So that we're due to have a long-range plan developed this year. This would obviously be, feed into some of that as well. So think about it. Thanks, Carol. Thank you, Natalia. Our next agenda item is new business, and we have 2 items to discuss. One is staff professional development. Last year, I reached out to Carol and we talked about staff development, something that's been near and dear to my heart. And I also worked with a little bit with the town HR rep, who is our rep for the library at the town, about, what sort of staff development and requirements that the town has, so that we could make it a little more codified, that what we're doing. So in 3rd quarter, I think, Carol, you created a committee of the senior staff, as a committee started. So Carol, if you can give us a little update about that.
Of course, yes, the professional development committee is working very hard with the mission to support professional growth in all library staff. Given that we work so closely with the public, it's no surprise that customer service was the topic of interest, ranked number one by our staff when they filled out a survey as to what they were interested in receiving classes, development, and so forth on. A video customer service tune-up, tips to help you care for yourself as you care for others, has been offered to the staff and will be viewed on January 25th and 26th by all staff who wish. The Professional Development Committee would like to request 1 full day and 2 half days for interactive staff development opportunities in the course of 1 year. The programs would involve professional speakers on topics of customer service, staff and patron safety, technology, and community engagement. Other ways that we are engaging the staff and creating rapport and information between everybody. All staff who are in the building gather on Mondays, Thursdays, and Saturdays at the Noah Webster Library for a briefing before opening. We've created new staff badges that everybody will be wearing. And library staff are registering for webinars and state and national virtual meetings. All staff also communicate through the staff intranet, which has been updated and revised and will be definitely used to notify staff of anything that's happening within our system. And that concludes my report.
Questions for Carol? So what we, Carol and I talked about the proposed, it's a little different than how we, I think last year we did it, well, last year was, the last 2 years have been sort of odd anyway for staff development and times, but just a reminder to the board, these staff development days that we've had, gosh, for years, we will vote as a board to close the library so that the full staff can have the opportunity to attend. So it'll be on a, once, you know, Laura and the staff and come up with a game plan for how they're going to do any full staff days, they'll come back to us and ask to close the library, hence the half day idea that they came up with, so that to lower the impact on the patrons. So I guess we can hear more. Chair recognizes Kim Cohen.
Hi, Kim Cohen, Library Board Member. I'm just curious, will we take up on the foundation side any costs affiliated with those developments? I mean, will that be a grant to the foundation to cover the costs of any of those speakers or sessions? I imagine some of those outside resources will have like costs associated with them.
Yes, we have a grant that had been approved. We have funds to hire speakers and also to use for staff to any cost for attending webinars. So we do have a very satisfactory budget for staff development.
Great, thank you.
Sure.
Other questions? Moving on. Library board meeting for December 2022. I just wanted to make note, Janet identified after we'd approved the 2022 and submitted our proposed calendar to the town, which is, you know, you can find on the town website. That had to be submitted. I think, Janet, we did it in the November meeting, maybe. Janet noticed that because Christmas in 2022 occurs on the weekend, I believe, the work day after it is actually, our board meeting is actually a town holiday. So rather than update the our calendar right now, Janet and I chatted that we thought we would, often we don't even have a December meeting. It's, you know, we often don't have enough agenda items, and it falls usually not the best time of the year for us. So we thought we would wait and address the December meeting in like the October and November timeframe. Different options. If we feel like we want to have maybe the November meeting a little earlier and then have, you know, fuss around with the January meetings to give us some leeway or whatever. But we're going to have to do, you know, optionally we do something for the December meeting anyway. This time we really do have to do something and update that calendar. So we expect to do that in, I think, the October-November timeframe will address that. Okay, so just a heads up, wait, because somebody's going to notice Isn't that, isn't that a holiday for the town? It is. Yes, we know that. Okay. And that concludes the new business items. Any questions about that? Thanks, Grace. Nope. The next agenda item is the director's report and the current monthly briefing.
Carol Waxman, former interim library director. In the continued reopening, we are now open for 10 Sundays this year, starting on January 9th, and the hours are from 12 noon until 4 p.m. We're responding to the latest pandemic protocol reflective of the rise in the positivity rates in West Hartford by communicating frequently with the West Hartford Bloomfield Health District and following all protocol. All library programming for children, teens, and adults has once again become virtual. Library patrons have a wide variety of engaging virtual programs to attend. Library visitors over the age of two continue to wear a mask inside of our 3 library buildings. Curbside service had slowed considerably, but is still being offered at the Noah Webster Library as more and more patrons entered the building to retrieve their materials and browse. However, with the rise in positivity rates, we expect to see a rise in curbside service. The service has been discontinued at the Faxon Branch Library. At the Bishop's Corner branch, the use of the Smart Locker system has replaced curbside service. The Smart Locker service has proven to be very successful in terms of the number of library patrons using it and their appreciation of being able to pick up materials during closed library hours. I'll speak a little bit more about that later in my report. Unfortunately, due to staff outbreaks of COVID, we had to close the Faxon Branch Library for the day on January 3rd due to a staff shortage. We are in close contact with the West Hartford Bloomfield Health District on a daily basis to determine quarantine protocol for staff members who are exposed and those returning to work after COVID. For the last 2 months, November and December, physical books were our biggest circulating format, comprising about 60% of total circulation, up from about 45% in November and December of 2020. E-circulation is 20% of circulation now, down from 30% in November and December of 2020. This data shows that patrons are gradually returning to the library in person, checking out physical items, at least before the worst of the latest COVID surge. And I'm sure in the months to follow, Laura will have more information on this. Our tech lab, which we are now calling Studio 20 South, and sometimes we call it the Makerspace Lab. So if I pivot between those terms, you'll know what I'm talking about. We'll finally have a soft opening on February 7th, opening a total of about 22 hours per week, offering morning, afternoon, and evening hours with full days on Saturday, staffed by technicians who are very excited to introduce and instruct patrons on the devices offered. The Maker Studio will be publicized on our website as a start and the newsletter a bit later in order not to overwhelm the staff and to give individual attention to all those who registered to use the space. Library visitors will register on a Google form and identify the service they wish to use. One visitor will be allowed at a time and must have a library card. So we're definitely looking forward to that in a few weeks. A little bit more on the smart lockers. If there was ever any time that the smart lockers could come to West Hartford, it is now. On January 18th, we had the most lockers in use since the inception of the service 2 months ago. 18 of the 21 lockers were in use. The pickup time is 72 hours that you have to pick up your materials, but the average pickup was 27 hours. So people came right away. There were 113 total locker deliveries in December, and already 83 so far in January. There are now 77 people who are using the lockers regularly. The Bishop's Corner staff have received calls from patrons who were home quarantining with COVID and needed to switch their inside the building holds to the lockers, and we were so happy to be able to accommodate them. Our new art committee is meeting and well underway. Our art curators, Stephanie Marco Lance and Julie Phillips, have suggested 6 art shows for this year, which have been approved by the art committee. They consist of A Way with Words, art inspired by the written word, Juneteenth, Circles, which is a representational or abstract work featuring a circle, the color theme orange, the subject of peace, Creatures of West Hartford. And these will start in February. Our programs, although virtual, are being registered by many, many people and enjoyed thoroughly. Adult programs, notable programs that have taken place or will take place are Italian Women Artists, The Mindset and Management of Stress, One Pot Meals, Eat This, Not That, and Funny Ladies. Children's programs include Baby Sign Language, Food Explorers, Yoga, and STEAM story times, as well as many grab-and-go crafts held through Zoom or Facebook. We're hoping to hold in-person programs outdoors for the spring and summer. The Mayor's Youth Council. I need to tell you that I'm present at every meeting, and I'm amazed at every meeting. These teens are so serious in their projects and just being members of the council. I'm in awe of them. 3 subcommittees that include mental health, action and awareness, diversity and international events, and social media are currently in place. The mental health group is planning a virtual discussion about teen mental health during the COVID pandemic. The Diversity International Night group is organizing an outdoor event to showcase music from the high schools featuring mostly international music. And the social media committee is working on a logo contest and creating an Instagram page to increase Mayor's Youth Council visibility and to encourage more teens to apply for the 2022-2023 council. Aside from these projects, council members have been involved in other community programs in West Hartford. The Golden Door of Hartford group invited the students to meet with their members to plan a vigil for democracy. And some members of the Mayor's Youth Council met with town historian Dr. Tracy Wilson to assist in creating a video about Noah Webster's story called Lamentation of an Old Female Slave. And this is being created to show 5th grade students in West Hartford when they make field trips to the Noah Webster House Museum. The committee is also working with Dr. Wilson to petition West Hartford residents over the age 18 to approve the renaming of New Street. As many of you know, there's a street behind the library building near the Isham Garage called New Street. Now, perhaps that's a name every town gives to a new street, I'm not sure, but it needs a real name. So once the petition is complete and has at least 100 signatures, the committee can go ahead and know that people approve, and they will create names of enslaved people who lived in West Hartford and vote on a name for the new street. This name will reflect the enslaved person that was nominated by the entire group. The process may take about 2 months until completion, and I'll definitely keep you informed as I learn more. Just an update on Amazon Smile. As you may remember, this is a choice now that people can use when they make their Amazon purchases. And the people that do register for this, some of the profits from what they've ordered do come back to the Library Foundation. Right now, I'm happy to report that we have 21 customers supporting our charity. There have been 13 purchases in the last 7 days and 57 purchases in the month of December. There are no funds in the account right now because these are posted quarterly. The next donation will be sent in for February 2022, and I'm sure Laura will know about this and update you accordingly. A new Fax and Branch book drop is finally in place after the previous book drop was unfortunately demolished by a car in the parking lot. It has been placed in the same location, but the slot where materials are placed has been turned to the other side after town engineers inspected it and determined the change needed to be made to avoid future accidents. An additional support post will be added when the weather is warmer and the ground more accessible to avoid future accidents. The painting project at the Noah Webster Library is now complete. The stairwell railings and walls have been painted and base molding added to the stairwells to prevent wear. Some hallways and the staff restrooms are repainted, and window repairs and painting touch-ups have been done to the library director's office. Unfortunately, we have had 3 part-time reference librarians take long-term leaves due to their concern about working during COVID. Other staff are filling in for their shifts, and we are hoping for their return when they are able to do so. And that concludes my report. Happy to take any questions.
Chair recognizes Gail Crockett.
Gail Crockett, Library Board Member. Carol, just a point of clarification. When you were talking about the Mayor's Youth Council, you mentioned 3 committees they've established: the Mental Health, Diversity, and International, and social media.
Social media.
So and the Golden Door Vigil is, they connected with them to engage with their Vigil for Democracy. Is that what I'm understanding?
Let me
Or
check
is
the notes.
separate?
Let me see here.
I couldn't tell what you kept going, so I couldn't tell whether
Okay,
the Golden Door planned event and the renaming of the new street
sure.
and Tracy's efforts were all co-linked or being coordinated through or with the Youth Council, or they're separate.
Let me separate that for you, Gail.
Okay.
I'll just read you my sentence. On January 6th, co-chair Maya Palenke of the Mayor's Youth Council was invited by the Golden Door of Hartford to speak at a student rally at Town Hall called Vigil for Democracy. I'm sorry if I skipped over that. Please
Yeah,
excuse me.
okay, that clarifies it, because I was like, okay, I got lost.
No, my fault. Thank you
Nope.
for asking.
And the renaming of New Street
Yes,
and the petitions, where is that being coordinated?
I don't have details on that yet, Gail, but I will definitely let you know. So Dr. Tracy Wilson is coordinating this entire effort.
Ah,
The,
okay.
right, the Mayor's Youth Council members are going out with a petition. They have to get at least 100 residents over the age of 18 to sign the petition claiming that they're in favor of renaming New Street. Once the petition is complete, the Mayor's Youth Council Committee will meet to discuss the information they have gathered about enslaved people who lived in West Hartford. They will have names of those people, and they will vote on the one person that they would like to recognize by giving that name to New Street.
So how are those petitions being distributed?
I don't have details on that yet, Gail.
Okay.
I will find out. I will contact Dr. Wilson and I will let you know.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I bring it up because Wasco, which I'm a member of, has been talking about this. And so I'd like to at least update them, like, oh, so this is what's already underway. and I'm anticipating the questions that I might get asked. But I'm also on the advisory committee with for the witness stone, so I can just reach out to Tracy directly to save you from doing that.
I'll find out what I can, you find out what you can, and then we'll have the whole story.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Perhaps
Thank
you
you.
could, Carol, perhaps you could you and Laura could have just an update of that during our next library board meeting as well, just because since we're in a public forum here, that would, spread the information, if you don't mind.
Absolutely.
Thank you. I'm assuming that it's going to go through Tracy's role is also in connection with the town's processes for name changes. Any name change has a town process. Tracy's just working with the town, right? But
Right. There's
you'll update us.
planning and zoning involved and
Yeah.
lots of things involved.
Yeah, exactly. Chair recognizes Natalia Benjamin.
I'm sorry. Gail Crockett, Library Board, and I'm thinking that they may be trying to bring this to fruition for the month of February as a. That's just
Wonderful.
I don't know, but sounds like it.
Okay, thanks, Gail. Thanks, Carol. The chair recognizes Natalia Manjivar.
Natalia Manhivar, library board member. Carol, I had a question regarding the smart locker. It sounds like they've had such a lot of success in a short period of time at one of our locations. I was wondering if there was any thought that might be given to future creation of a smart locker system at the main branch at Noah Webster.
Natalia, there were some problems with locating it here because there's a specific wall at the Bishop's Corner Library that they could balance it against. Here we had the town engineers out and that is not the case, but that's not to say that we couldn't do it if there's always ways to figure things out. What we may ask for though in the near future is perhaps an addition of a bank of lockers onto the smart lockers at Bishop's if it does become overwhelmed with requests. But anything is possible. It's really, for so many reasons, parking, COVID's going to go away at some point. We know that, but parking and just the after hours convenience, it just nails it all.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Library Board Chair Jill Spear. This is just a reminder that when the proposal came for the smart lockers, originally it was for all 3 sites, and we said basically forget even the money issue. Let's do one site as a beta test. Get all the kinks worked out with the town, with the vendor, with the operations, and we're going to learn a lot. And let's see, the lockers went live, Carol, in September or August-ish, that sort of time frame, I think.
I'm so sorry I don't have the date. It's sort of blending into not
Yeah.
earlier than October.
Yeah, so we haven't
November-ish.
gone through, right. So
I think it was October. It was October.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, so we so the staff is collecting lots of information, not just the statistics on use, but just operationally their operations. Obviously COVID's a whole different wrinkle on top of everything else. But the anticipation is that we would look at as part of the strategic plan how we can have availability of materials other than electronically outside hours. That's something we would want to address in our strategic plan. Some towns actually have their lockers not at the library site. They put them in the grocery store. They put outside a grocery store, outside of some secure place. So something I anticipate that when we do the strategic plan, we'll hopefully by then, because we're going to do that later in the year, sort of after June-ish kind of time frame was the anticipation that we would kick that off, that we will have 9 months of experience by then, and hopefully we can build a vision, if not a full rollout, but a vision of that. And clearly when we work on the new community center in the Elmwood section, access to materials outside normal hours, whether it's a locker system or some other system, would clearly be, Carol, jump in here, but that's something we talked about. That's going to be something that's hot.
Definitely. We are keeping all the statistics, but even aside from those, The staff is at Bishop's Corner is so excited because the patrons are so appreciative and so excited to hear the comments. And it's such the need of the community is being met so well, because other than employing more staff and opening the library more hours, which is always difficult with the budget, we're providing the service that they need without adding any money on to our staffing role or having to break the budget by more hours at the branches. It's a virtual branch right outside of the brick and mortar branch, and it's filling the need beautifully.
And just a reminder to the public, the funding for this came from the West Hartford Library Foundation. So clearly, if people in the public, appreciate this and want to donate to it, because this did not come out of taxpayers' funding at all. Right? Came out, the town provided the engineering to, for the site and stuff, but all the vendors' costs and all that, everything came out of the foundation. And it was not an insignificant amount, because the library staff identified a locker system that they felt was substantially enough that it would last through our weather conditions, through the heat conditions. There are cheaper ones available that just don't have the reputation to meet our requirements. So again, a little plug for the public to donate if they'd like to donate toward other extensions of that. There's the West Hartford Library Foundation, would certainly gladly accept donations for that. Carol, any other questions for Carol for the monthly briefing? Okay. Our next meeting is scheduled for Monday, February 28th. And with that, I'd like to call for a motion for adjournment. Chair recognizes Natalia Menjivar.
Natalia Menjivar, Library Board Member, motion to adjourn this meeting.
Thank you, Natalia. Do we have a second? Chair recognizes Gail Crockett.
Gail Crockett, Library Board Member, move to adjourn, approve the motion to adjourn.
Thank you. I'll now call the roll. Kim Crowan.
Kim Cohen, Library Board Member. I am in favor.
Gail Crockett.
Gail Crockett, Library Board Member, move to adjourn, approve.
Eileen Daly.
Eileen Daly, Library Board Member, motion to adjourn, approved.
Natalia Menjivar.
Natalia Menjivar, Library Board Member, approve.
Bill Spear, Library Board Member and Chair, approve. Thank you all very much, and meeting is adjourned.
Right.
Good night.
Ciao.